Hey, welcome back everybody to our coverage of Group B here in our EMEA qualifiers, of course, for stage 1 of the OWCS. That's a mouthful. I'm back. I'm Mitch Leslie here, joined by Matthew Morello, and we are about to jump into our second series of the day. Bubo-SprayCheck versus LeftRightGnight. Looks like the Lijiang Tower and Samoa bands came out, and yet we have a Samoa selected. So
yeah, I was that's a little bit of a curveball. We didn't cover all of the rules in the map veto process, but that seems a little bit. We're gonna ban Samoa, and you just say, well, no, we're just gonna select it. That doesn't seem like you could do that. We'll get an idea of what that map is. But King's Row, like I mentioned, that seems to be a little bit of a staple there that I think we'll kind of see come through, and then Colosseo for that push map.
Yeah, probably no surprises there. So we're waiting, of course, on the confirmation of what that first map is likely going to be. So plenty of time to chat here, Matt. We sort of covered what we expected to see from the metagame already here. The maps in this series, again, Colosseo coming up again, not hugely shocking, but it's important to remind everybody that the winner of this match will advance to the main event. We've already had one day of play, of course, covered by a fantastic community of co-streamers, where we got our teams sort of through their first games here. So that means Twisted Minds already representing as part of that main event. Remember, we're cutting these teams down in size to have that top 8 to play in a double elimination bracket. The top 2 teams from each of our 4 groups will advance to that event.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a huge match, right? Like, you never want to end up playing in that loser type scenario. Hopefully this is closer than our first match that we saw today. I definitely expect like Peps to probably still come out of Group A, even with their kind of like poor performance. The first map will be Nepal, actually, so you can't pick a map that's banned. They banned Samoa. They can't just turn around and select it. So obviously, no, we're gonna go to Nepal here. That'll be the selection.
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up there, Matthew. Nepal.
No problem, anytime.
Really clarifying that for the folks at home here. And again, I sort of talked about it in the pre-show. Maybe uncharitable a little bit towards this LeftRightGnight team with a number of players that are based over in North America, calling for a pause already. How many more pauses you guys want? Want some more pauses? They're getting another one. Chat.
Yeah, so get a little bit of a pause here. Looked like Vestolo was playing potentially that Ramatra, so could see Ramatra kind of like rush, so to speak, come in there with Monson the Lucio. So potentially some early signs of what we'll see in this series, but still need a little bit more time to set it up.
Yeah, and again, I mean, there are a number of individuals on this LeftRightGnight team, though, that despite perhaps some ping issues that they're trying to overcome, are still sort of pretty exciting prospects, I think. Mimone, of course, playing for the Great Britain team for the Overwatch World Cup, of course, hailing from Wales. Lethal as well, a player who spent some time on that London Spitfire, and also is like he's really well known, obviously, at Illinois State. He's been on Redbirds for quite some time. I think sort of still is now. Again, these are a number of players that, probably have like north of 100 ping sort of playing here. I think Gala is potentially still based in Europe here. Quite a mix between these guys. Yeah. So obviously, remember Gala from SRP-Check, right? Someone we got really excited about during Flash Shop's Holiday Showdown, Matt, who
played for
Hiraco, was incredible.
Played for Team Spain, I believe, as well.
That's right.
So players on this team, like from like all over the place, right? Like contenders, World Cup, like, Overwatch League appearances, or really from like all different parts of the globe as well, right? Just kind of coming together here in EMEA to try and put up a really good fight against the Bubo-SprayCheck.
Yeah, I mean, Vistola, Massa and Crimso seems like your go-to sort of backline here. This team definitely terrifying. They're just terrifying. Cloudy, I think, was actually coaching previously. He might still be coaching this roster. I think SRP-Check he was coaching that team. So
this is also a Group B winners matchup, right? So both of these teams right now sit at 1-0.
And they both 3-0'd to get here too.
Yeah, they both won their game yesterday, so both of them sit at 1-0. we'll get off to a start here, finally here on Nepal. So it'll be Kevster on Tracer, and then Kai on the Sojourn, and Lethal will play that Ashe. I was talking about like playing Ashe against some of these like, you know, more rush, like kind of like everybody wants to stay together comps. Get good value out of that Dynamite.
No, it's great against the Ramatra compositions, right? It puts constant heal pressure down on like a Moira team, where it's not always convenient for Crimso to have to constantly top people up. He wants fast fights where he can just let a Biotic Orb go. He doesn't want to be slowly sort of, you know, death by 1,000 cuts, levels of damage pressure coming towards him. So I like the pick here. See if it plays out. Kai obviously, yeah, needs to respect the Vortex here. Backs up a little bit, farms shields. Crimso returning back towards him in Mimone. Yeah, walks straight into that one. Railgun connection, and Kevs is able to finish the job, and now the pressure starts to mount. Admiral low has to back away. Another shield going to be deployed here by Aerial, and Kai just wants to break through. Headshot Railgun, that'll get the job done, and Bubo-SprayCheck are off to a flying start.
So like LeftRightGnight, right? They want to play these fights in a, just kind of like how you mentioned, like death by 1,000 cuts, right? They want to land those dynamites, chip health, chip health, chip health. You have the Moira on the other side though, right? Like Moira can kind of keep everybody topped up, you know, rather effectively. Coalescence already available there for Crimso.
It's annoying for her though, because she is using healing resource to do that, or the orb cooldown. So it's worse for her than other supports, I feel.
Yes, this is Coalescence here. So, man, Aerial getting really low.
Yep. This is just kill the ram. The Coalescence gave them everything they needed, Matt, to start on the front foot.
Yeah, and you can play a little bit more aggressive here for Bubo-SprayCheck, because you want to play around that like burst damage, right? Like let Kai farm up the shield, let him farm out the Ramatra with a power block, right? And then just, you know, just land a rail shot onto anybody and then collapse on that target.
Sound barrier here for Admiral. It will be matched by Masa. Bubo-SprayCheck have not had to make use of that yet. Just the coal to win a fight. That's about as good as it gets here in terms of value and old economy. Pistola pressured into a corner, but he's going to be able to snap back here now with an annihilation. But there's no sound barrier, I guess, to keep him standing. Bubo-SprayCheck more than happy to get 80%, 80%, and be done with it here. But LeftRightGnight don't expend their own Lucio ultimate here, so it's not as if Masa has created a huge advantage just letting that one go through.
No, as yeah, you potentially, you know, should have seen them kind of invest that sound barrier into that. As Dynamite goes out, that'll just tick down Kevster a little bit, but you know, same with Vestola, but they'll keep those players all healed up. As Annihilation available for Aerial in combination here with a sound barrier, so LeftRightGnight should be able to hold on to the point.
Pressure mounting once more here is Kai. That's scary stuff. Masa absolutely stone cold, refuses to use that sound barrier. Admiral, though, eventually gets it teased out of him. Masa more than happy to go for a slightly later one now as they want to bear down upon Aerial, who, though is using this annihilation, is getting absolutely battered. Forced away into a position now where he can't make use of that AoE damage. On the point, Kev's has seen better days, but Kai's able to intercede briefly to force away his opposite number in Mimone here. And Bubo-SprayCheck need a moment just to get their DPS top back up. But the pressure's good. They flip the point back in their favor now, and Bubo-SprayCheck have to make the play without an ultimate.
Yeah, it looks like maybe Mimone on the point, just kind of contesting, as this will be the Kitsune rush here for LeftRightGnight. So trying to just push them back a little bit. They'll get 2 kills off the back of this, but the Bubo-SprayCheck getting to 99. And somebody get there to touch. Okay, finally, it's going to be Admiral getting on the point.
There's a trade of kills there. It's Crimso for Lethal. Bubo-SprayCheck lose their Moira in a fight that starts to get a little bit longer. That's a death sentence. Obviously, the Ashe is important, but when your Ramatra's in the front line, it's not as if you're lacking damage necessarily. Bubo-SprayCheck really hoping to get Crimso alive longer and later in these fights, especially when it comes to building as many coalescences as humanly possible.
Vestola takes a big chunk of damage on the way in. Is gonna move up with the power block. I think he's just trying to build this annihilation now, but he gets kind of split off because the Bob's behind him.
Yeah, Bob contesting here, pressuring away, and Lethal was able to link up with Mimone there in terms of the Tracer Pulse Bomb. Aerial, though, getting knocked over the edge of the map. That's an environmental kill potential from Masa that I was mentioning earlier. You've lost such a high-value target to such a cheeky play. Masa, though, doesn't get away with that one scot-free, though. Still another flip back on the point here. Lethal getting brought down by a pulse bomb as Kevster gets booped on the point. Does he have a recall here? Admiral hides away. Sound barrier going to be crucial in a moment like this, and the fade's going to be forced by Crimso early. He can try and set up for a call, but Mimone chased him down and made it impossible to use that ultimate when he needed it. Pistola happened to stand his ground though. That Annihilation buys enough space, and somehow Bubo-SprayCheck closed the round out there, despite for much of that fight, Matt, being outnumbered.
Yeah, it's the Annihilation just on one side and just using his body, and then he throws the Vortex on the other, so he doesn't want to run exactly through that. Pretty low in terms of health, so that just kind of bullies them off of the point to give Bubo-SprayCheck the first point here on Nepal. See if there's any different comp changes coming up here for either of these teams, as LeftRightGnight was hovering that Doomfist for a little bit.
Where Lucio setups here. They benefit from the close proximity of the village point. Okay, Lethal and Kai will match themselves out here. Lethal probably thinks it's a little harder to get dynamite value, especially if you're attacking the point, if you're not in control of it. Mirror comps here, Matt, out of the gates.
Yeah, as now we get to see Lethal on the Sojourn as opposed to the Ash. Gonna rely on him to just nail some big railgun shots, then capitalize on it.
Great damage on the Stoller there. There's nothing Crimzo could do. I think he was actually out of healing resource there as his Ramatra eventually fell. This is what we mean about these longer fights. Can be hard sometimes to keep your front line away when your cooldowns are gone. Marcy gets picked up at relatively long range here, and LeftRightGnight have the luxury, the honor of starting this round in control of the point, but in the meantime, Crimzo and Kevster take their opposite numbers down. Crucially, no Moira, no Tracy here. Yeah, you've got to leave the point. You've just got to walk away.
Yeah, I mean, you give up the point for a quick second to actually go push in. I don't get the kills from players that are split off a little bit, so you give up 8% to probably gain, 20 or so here for Bubo-SprayCheck. So, pretty good trade there.
Master just scouting to make sure no one's looking to wrap around. Pistola now really wants to be aware of how much damage he's taking and how quickly it comes in. Crimzo's close to a call. If he can buy enough time, he'll be in good shape here. Kev's still losing a Tracer duel uncharacteristically, but had already taken his pint of blood in the form of the other DPS. Lethal coming back from spawn now, and double call will be deployed. Admiral does have a sound barrier a little bit earlier than Masa here. How long do we hold it? Sile, all that happened is play from behind his tank there and just quickly fade in case the damage was coming in. That's a nasty biotic orb, though, again taking them low. Admiral has to use a sound barrier now before the fight has truly begun.
Yeah, and Kai actually just peeks a little bit out and gets taken out there by Lethal there. Not even with an overclock, right? Just a fully charged railgun. As the Bubo-SprayCheck still gonna get, above 50% on the point here, but man, you had a really good spot, right? You forced that sound barrier early. You had high ground control. It's just that one shot there from Lethal that opens things up.
Kai dies. It's a great pulse bomb stick from Maimon. I think it was on Masa. Now, while it didn't eliminate him entirely, it took him very, very low. And when you have Annihilation running in, which, by the way, is the ultimate you want to be keeping an eye on in this next fight. When you have Annihilation there for Aerial, it's easy to clean things up. Bubo-SprayCheck more than ready. They're poised here to reclaim the point quite quickly.
Yeah, and can Visol and crew force a fight on the point or something along those lines, right? To get good value out of this Annihilation is trying to move up using that power block. Maybe you can force them down. So this will be Lethal's overclock. That's a sick shot, yeah.
Traded out though. Vistola eventually gets what he wants. Yeah, LeftRightGnight forced to play down towards the point, but Vistola used much of that Annihilation duration on the high ground and couldn't get any connections to prolong it any further. Still, it's going to get tough there for Aerial in a moment now as I call lessons from Crimzo comes out. Pistola looking very healthy now. An aggressive biotic orb deployed by Crimzo now to increase that heal pressure. The Maimon has another pulse bomb here, hoping once more to catch Marcel with it. But the Lucio a little too deft. He's forced to recall away as the Disruptor shot blocks his path. Kai keeping his backline nice and healthy. But Pistola gets brought down and Crimzo is too low to stand. LeftRightGnight in this longer fight will prevail.
Yeah, I think you're just hoping to just kind of keep, staggering onto the point here for SprayCheck as we're not going to be able to survive that, right? With the sound barrier coming on in. No support ultimate for them, so going to have to give up the point back to LeftRightGnight if they've looked, even point one was pretty back and forth. I know all things considered as they put up a really good fight here on point number 2.
I'm really impressed with Lethal so far for obvious reasons, but Maimon is doing a great job of putting pressure on Masa constantly. Being a loose end, forcing Lucio to group up with the rest of his team. He wants to do anyway, but again, usually at low health. Masa might Want to hold this at least until Vistola gets a little closer to Aerial. Here they get a fight on the point. Here it comes. Sound barrier deployed. 5 people catching. This annihilation might be short-lived here. Aerial eventually gets overrun despite having that ultimate in play. But Lethal finds yet another one. It's Kevster getting taken down by a headshot. There may not be enough though. Is LeftRightGnight agree? They'll capitulate midway through the fight and back up.
Ariel's got to go over to the Doofus just to get back to be able to get in the fight with the team. But look at this. SprayCheck has just about almost every ultimate available when this next fight kicks off.
Time is short, and you're right. They're verging on some key ultimates, and Lethal got caught out there. Aerial can only look on as they've lost their Sojourn. Here's that coalescence now, but Mamone's able to find another crucial pulse bomb kill. Aerial, though, gets a steaming hole punched through his face by that coal. The Stoller, of course, with that annihilation. The ultimate timing favors Bubo-SprayCheck. And now Mamone can only try and stall this out a little further. Vortex to slow Sile down. Coalescence looks good, but not when it's not on the point, not when it's not affecting your team. And Bubo-SprayCheck take Nepal away.
Yeah, pretty close map, all things considered. Really, the Sojourn battle was awesome back and forth. Looks like we're in for a way closer series, I would say, than kind of what we just had in our first game of the day. Bubo-SprayCheck just looked really good. I know later into that series, right? On the final moments in Nepal, right, with all those ultimates, they kind of played that game really effectively in terms of kind of cycling the ults.
Yeah, I think we set low expectations for LeftRightGnight coming into this game, especially with the news that they might be dealing with some ping issues, but they have subverted that entirely. They look really good, and while we spent so much time talking up Kai and Kevster, Mamone and Lethal looked very, very good, if not better, on many occasions, especially on Village. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit more than that to sort of win out. And despite the great pressure from Mamone constantly on towards Master and Lethal finding these great charged rail shots, they weren't able to come away with the win. But you kind of pointed it out going into the last fight there, Matt. It just happened that Bubo-SprayCheck was about to verge on 5 or 6 ultimates. Annihilation was a massive one there, just to let Vistola play more aggressive.
I mean, yeah, you had like 4 ultimates there, and there, like you also went into that fight with sound barrier versus no sound barrier on the other side, right? Like, even though Aerial had the annihilation, you were able to just burst them down pretty fast and then just move on to the point and hold on everything else after that. So really competitive. Map number 1, excited for the rest of the series.
Yeah, you pointed it out. Blizzard World will be a popular one, and so it has been selected in this series as well. Stick around here for our Group B winners match, map number 2, as Bubo-SprayCheck go to an early lead. A good fun. Thanks for being with us so far today, folks at home. Yes, already we've seen Group A send Twisted Minds to the main event, and now over in Group B, Bubo-SprayCheck, after a little bit of back and forth on the poll, are off to a great start with that first map locked in. And of course, here's your lineup with some substitutions being made as Ghost is coming in here, which may indicate a double flex support approach for Blizzard World, our second map of the series.
Yeah, Blizzard World with some high ground. Interesting that you kind of like drop the Lucio potentially, but maybe they want to play something that's a little bit slower, doesn't want to take advantage of that, like bringing in, maybe you play the Baptiste with like a Kariko or something like we've seen some teams do. But yeah, curious on what they decide to do.
Kevster and Kai again, kind of as we speculated, came out on Tracer and some form of hit scan. It was Sojourn primarily for Kai, who honestly met his match up against Lethal. We saw LeftRightGnight really put on quite a display there in that first map. It went very, very close in the end. And as we kind of mentioned, it came down to ultimate economy at the end of the game, which still is a big part of winning and losing in competitive Overwatch. Blizzard World, though, for our second map was in the past a map where, yeah, we saw teams really favor abusing the high ground that they had as defenders quite often with their double flex support style. We've seen all sorts of looks to them here. I don't know about this one.
Yeah, the sub in for the Mercy Lifeweaver. That's
not sure about that.
That's what you really make those subs for.
That's what I'm
right?
here for. Yeah, we won't get that. I think maybe like you can have, based on your composition. I mean, this is like hit scan based. You can actually.
This is just to get like a snipe shot off the start, and then we're gonna see what they're really gonna do.
Yeah, damage boost and obviously livelihood platform. All right, so Zen Baptiste here. So can we get the
Trob?
Is this to answer the Tracer primarily? No way. Okay. So relatively slow moving poke style composition, right, centering around the Sigma and of course the Zenyatta Discord orbs.
Yeah, and historically, right, like Bestola is a player who's played like, Diva, Sigma, like your traditional kind of like quote unquote off tanks, right? So it's a pretty good hero to have him on here. And then having Crimzo on the Zen, right, just should be a large sum of damage coming from him this game.
Yeah, Baptiste's regenerative burst already got drawn out. There are a lot of damage taken by Bubo-SprayCheck on the advance, but they're into these really nice positions now. Crimzo nestled just in the corner. Kaya finding a vantage point enough to rip the head straight off Sile. And Ariel won't get nearly enough healing here. Slow and steady wins the race for Bubo-SprayCheck, and they move in and take residence on point A.
And if you can't have your Tracer like punish the Zen, like you imagine this is going to be pretty long. As Ariel actually moves over to Diva, so Diva can control the high ground a little bit better than like a Ramatra in this case, right? But it also at the same time doesn't seem like Bubo-SprayCheck is interested even playing for high ground, right? I mean, sure, they'll probably go and contest it, but it isn't like they're playing like a Winston or Diva dive, really trying to take control of it.
No, I mean, they can move up there as a unit, right? Leave the Zenyatta potentially on that card for the time being. LeftRightGnight trying to encircle already. So on this flanking angle, they're committed to it somewhat because the Lucio is part of that sort of phalanx. They push in. Ariel takes a Discord orb pretty immediately though, and it's brought quite low. Crimzo keeping Kai nice and topped up here in Lethal. Yeah, can't really hang on that high ground. He gets just plucked away by Kevster, who does trade himself, but I think that's well worth it. Kai's disrupt the shot will eventually claim Ariel after he comes out of the mech, and Admiral really just trying to get behind out of line of sight. Thanks for the spray, Kai, like we needed a reminder.
His immortality field there used to keep Crimzo alive for a brief period of time after the pulse bomb, but eventually he gets taken out, and I know Ghost has done a real nice job on the Baptiste being able to keep Crimzo alive. Really difficult with a lot of the whether it's burst damage coming in from the Sojourn or Tracer just kind of constantly harassing.
Baptiste ultimate from the low ground here. Bubo-SprayCheck also with the Transcendence now in play, gonna make it even harder for LeftRightGnight to engage. They're really depending on Lethal now, and he's delivered so far. This is why you still want the high ground, even with this Sigma-based composition. You leave Lethal free to send these railguns across the map, and you're likely to lose players pretty quickly. Quickly, Kevster dashes away from Lethal, though. There's another one charged up, and he's found the Tracer as well. In these longer fights, the Sojourn reigns supreme, and now Bubo-SprayCheck will be packaged up and sent home.
They did get the Kitsune rush though out there, so I mean you end up using the rush there towards the end. You're probably going to save onto the sound barrier for when you see like the gravitic flux come down. Being able to save people from Vistola's ult as sound barrier is probably the best way to do that. At this point in the game. So this is going to be so difficult to contest though, right? Like that high ground is so nasty to have to push into. You need the Sigma, like all the Sigma's utility, right? The kinetic grasp, the shield, just to get people in here to the side.
Pressure on Crimzo here. Kai though making sure that Aerial is not going to be able to approach to the soft underbelly of this composition entirely. Sile takes a railgun, no headshot, but still enough to put the fear of God in him. And Kevster's wrapping slowly here. Again, Bubo-SprayCheck need to find a way to pressure this high ground adequately. Lethal almost preemptively drops down, was hoping maybe for a disruptor shot angle to play with. Overclock available here, and BSC have been ceasing on their ultimates as well.
Yeah, they just kind of like rotated all around. I thought maybe that they were gonna like, you think maybe that LeftRightGnight were not gonna send players to this choke, and you're gonna be able to get onto the cart and just like move it from the opposite side. This is an amp matrix there from Ghost, so it's gonna make it very difficult for anybody to come out and contest. You see two players in the cart gonna try and move it towards the goal.
It's also defensive though. I mean, everybody from BSC getting bundled up inside that small room. The Diva's the problem. She's so durable, even with that orb of Discord on her. Ariel able just to head upstairs very quickly, get out of line of sight immediately.
They wanted to force that sound barrier out early. Now you're going to see the gravitic flux come in here.
Lethal's in trouble.
Yeah.
You are not surviving that. And that was the big problem, Matt. The Sojourn dominating the high ground. BSC don't have to go up there to deal with it.
No, Kitsune Rush is going to back them up for just a little bit. They're going to wait till that rush basically wears off and then push out aggressive.
Here they come once more. Disrupt the shot here to cut off any retreat, but it's going to be Ghost getting caught up by that pulse bomb. Aerial able to finish the job as the immortality field had to be deployed here. Nowhere to go for Crimzo as Mimone starts to get a little hungry. And despite Ariel being low, he's done his job. Self-destruct here to buy a bit of space and more time as we're down to 1 minute and 20.
In a kill on the Baptiste, it's like almost like you get like the Zen as well, right? Like there's no way. Like, no, Vistola maybe now on Diva, right, can peel a little bit better, but like with a Sigma in the mix, there's no way you're going to be able to keep Crimzo up without the Baptiste there kind of hold his hand. So, LeftRightGnight doing a great job holding this high ground, on the defense in a good spot to potentially prevent Bubo-SprayCheck from completing the second checkpoint.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he forced the composition change now. Vistola realizes he needs more mobility. They keep getting caught, trapped up inside disruptor shots. Susceptible to getting split when they try and go aggressive if everyone's not on the same page, as Mimone is absolutely tearing them to pieces on these flank angles. Kevster with the recall now, hardly putting a scratch on Ariel there. He doesn't seem to be too bothered about the Tracer contesting.
You're going to be able to farm another amp matrix here for Ghost. I would love to see them potentially use it from the high ground, and you see that's how they look like they're trying to set up.
On the bad spot to be, Lethal able to get away, but the Discord orb is going to mean it's Kevster to make an easy lunch of him. Once more, the Sojourn is down. It's a big part of the win condition, but it's not the whole thing. They're traded in the end. Mimone's able to find a pulse bomb kill on Kai, and now 4 versus 4. With an air matrix in play, may favor BSC. Even though Crimzo falls, the damage is well and truly done. It looks like Bubo-SprayCheck are going to be able to keep playing now. Mimone, just a stall, won't be enough, but only 90 seconds left for BSC to finish the map.
Yeah, a little bit of better protection there with Vistola being able to play the Diva, for Crimzo, and then also getting that amp matrix set up on the high ground. Just you see the Discord orb there for when Kevster goes in, on the Lethal. Just it makes it very difficult for him to survive. And you give any extra advantage over to Kevster, it's going to be difficult. It's difficult to stop him already. It's going to be even harder.
You can see how important the Tracers are in these compositions, with the Sojourn often, because of their mobility, is left as a loose end. That in itself is a vulnerability. And Tracer's able to close the gap and present a real threat. Nicely done by Lethal from the high ground. That Overclock's going to claim Crimzo. It's a great angle to play from here. And great timing for LeftRightGnight to go up a gear.
Yeah, it was, from Crimson's POV, it looked like he was actually going to back out and go through the main choke, but then decided to just try to wrap around the corner and go with the rest of his team. No speed there. He's just like a sitting duck, just kind of like waddling on through. There was no chance he was going to make it with the overclock in the way. And now you're already at 30 seconds. Vistola forced to switch over to the Sigma here, so maybe just try and put a little bit more damage down as opposed to just kind of like peeling for Crimzo. Trying to take more space.
Back to the Sigma here, yeah. Better, I guess, in this position because the high ground isn't quite as accessible. You isolate yourself to some degree by trying to make use of it. EMEA there by Aerial as the sound barrier came in. That really hurts the overall durability of LeftRightGnight. Sile trying to play from behind that Kitsune rush. But Admiral gets brought down, so that speed aspect now definitely out of the game.
The DMAC is huge, but it's also like maybe they think they can actually save Ariel there. They end up using the sound barrier, and they end up using the barrier and just getting the baby diva, not actually getting him in mech, which is brutal stuff.
Just a brutal amount of pressure here for Ariel. That's out matrix in play, constantly forced to block, and so BSC actually managed to finish the map. Could have gone either way there, especially through that second phase as they struggled to make use of this Sigma composition and couldn't put any pressure on the high ground. I like the switch to Diva.
Though.
Yeah, no time remaining. That is fair. But I mean, that is... It's a long map, man. Especially when teams are so invested, right, in setting up on this high ground and not giving it up. It can be really hard to finish right now.
Yeah, and I do wonder if like what SprayCheck wants to do and maybe play like the Sigma is even better on defense because you have the natural high ground, right? You're not having to like fight for it like just inherently by being on the defensive side. You're kind of like giving it where the Sigma with the shield up there and whatnot can be even, you know, harder to get rid of. So I think potentially like this composition works even better on the defensive side.
Again, there's always the question that if the Sigma is forced to the low ground or is forced to commit, you know, regaining that high ground in a pinch, something that Diva was very good at doing, and peeling for that, you know, individual hit scan play that was left up there is a bit harder. So once you give up the high ground, it has been given up for the duration of the fight, and that normally means everyone else has to try and pile in around or ideally behind the Sigma to make sure he just doesn't get taken away for free. So it's a very strong position up there. So I want to see LeftRightGnight sort of see if they can tease any of these elements from BSC down to the low ground and force that with Admiral.
I think playing the Genji is good here. Like you kind of want to play something that's a little bit more all in, so to speak, right? And you know, Echo, I think just like the sight lines are so long here, and especially with a Zen BAP on the other side, like the Echo is probably not the play. That and your Genji's probably the right answer.
Again, Ariel probably more than happy to draw out some cooldowns as he feints an attempt at taking the high ground. Lethal needs to be basically topped up before he starts any of these engagements. Kai had to use the power slide already, but able to get away. Vastola, though, almost unable to get back towards the rest of his team, just playing around the corner of this little Pergola. So the high ground goes Lethal. Knows there's going to be someone waiting, but Kai has been in this position time and time again. And it won't even need to be a headshot to clean up Lethal. The Genji now is gone. Tip of the spear broken, but Ghost, who's the lion's share of the healing, gets taken away. And that entire backline has been compromised as LeftRightGnight have found their way in.
Yeah, both supports are just so low, trying to play around that immortality field and that regenerative burst to stay alive, but not able to do so. So even though you lost a few players for LeftRightGnight on the initial push, eventually they just come out on top. And look at this Kai gonna go over and play the Torb. Yeah. So Torb here against, you know, the double flankers plus the Diva, quite effective, just like taking shots at an off angle. He's also so tanky now, right? The 300 HP with the armor, and then also the armor with the an overload, right? So Torb becomes a very difficult target, and that's why they switch off of the Genji, go over to the Soldier.
Yeah, and Kai knows that's going to happen. He's trying to force a switch off the Genji, if I'm not mistaken. Still, my own will have a lot to contend with, trying to flank on that Tracer for all the reasons you mentioned, including the fact that turrets sometimes can just spot you in weird spots, kind of give away your positioning. Kai obviously is no stranger to picking up this hero in moments like this. He's not that married to playing hit scan DPS at all times. As that turret down, Lethal's able to clear that just a little bit earlier now, and Kevster would like to find a brief window to wrap around here, but the pulse really needs to go on a Kiriko if possible. It's be an Ant Matrix here on the high ground. Pulse bomb, no immortality. Yeah. It's taken down. Kevster, though, able to find, okay, he finds the pulse on the Kiriko. That's what we're looking for. And that's the challenge of going up against a Baptiste comp, right? They always have that immortality available. They're very unlikely to get that drawn out unless the fight is already well and truly broken down.
Yeah, you're also like trying to push into the high ground, right? Which has, you know, like we talked about Zen with the Discord and the amount of damage that he's putting out, but like the Baptiste can also put down a considerable amount of damage and also kind of keep the healing output going at the same time, right? So you're pushing into that, the Torb turret at an off angle, like it's really difficult. And then now Pistola on the Diva can just like kind of like fly in, contest the cart, cycle there with Kevster, right? It makes it very difficult to get any progress.
Nathan wants insta-kills, very much so. They've definitely tracked the fact that Transcendence is online for Crimzo. So they don't want a drawn out piecemeal engagement. They want an insta-kill. to play around, and Lethal is probing for that right now. They may just have to wait on that. Mine also looking to build up another pulse. That'll satisfy the same condition, but Kai's able to bring the Tracer down. The Transcendence, though, was forced out on that high ground. So that's a bonus here for LeftRightGnight. If they can find anything else in this fight, it's a win.
Yeah, Crimzo drops low here, maybe thinking they're just going to kind of clean up the fight, but the Kitsune Rush, I think, caught them off guard a little bit, right? Trying to back up. I know, get out of harm's way as Lethal will find Kevster.
Now, this is much better here for LRG. Lethal able to find that in-skill we mentioned earlier on here, and that was a fight where Transcendence was drawn out of BSC, and they still get crushed. Even more importantly, you've maintained a sound barrier for your next engagement, which may be right on the doorstep of this next checkpoint.
Do you stay the Torb here? I think you probably do just for the ultimate, but I think after that you consider switching. Like, I don't know if it's like being as impactful, right, deterring the dive.
The ultimate is generally horrendous here. The only bonus is that they have to play on cart in order to capture the point. I like that. Very little thing there for Kai. Throws the ultimate down at his feet because he knows he's going to get engaged upon, and wants to get that damage on Ariel as he tries to approach. Immortality Field brought down there by that self-destruct as Ariel was really just looking for a mech reset after traversing that lava trail. And LRG are all over this here. This switch to Torb ultimately has not been the difference maker.
No, as you kind of mentioned it, like they needed some of these big burst damage to come through and kills for LRG, and Lethal has definitely provided that. He has been phenomenal here on the Sojourn on offense. Is Kai's now going to switch off of the Torbjorn to try and answer that, which I think they absolutely do. Just get a little bit of damage there. It makes just seeing the Sojourn charged up is such a threat to Crimzo, right? It's something that like a Immortality Field isn't going to help him survive against, that insta burst damage coming down from a Sojourn.
No, you're still playing this Zen Baptiste backline here, which just seems a little bit less effective overall than what the Lucio Kiriko is able to provide, especially defensively speaking.
Did he boop him into the hole?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think he might have sort of slid off it, but Vistola had already used his Rocket Boost cooldown. I think he was midway through that, right? So
I think just got caught in an angle.
Really not. I'm sorry? A Tracer? Okay, Admiral's found yet another environmental kill, or at least a boop-based kill. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was getting too excited there. We were talking up Masa. For someone who's been able to deliver moments like that with staggering consistency over the years. Admiral did find a key one though. Then here comes a Kitsune Rush here to try and get LRG closer to that goal. Up goes Vistola, close to a self-destruct and consequently a mech reset, so wants to maintain mech for the time being, and Transcendence is going to help to that effect. But Ariel, untouched for the most part, able to create that spacing, make it hard for the rest of BSC to follow up on Vistola and make use of that healing, and eventually Lethal waits it out and then plugs one through Crimzo.
Man, I think the Zen kind of comp, right? Like, you're all in on this without having a Lucio in the mix, and it just does not seem to be winning out as LRG's dive just seems to be proven too strong.
I mean, there it is. You've got no choice but to contest here. It's the Annihilation Conundrum, as Crimzo has to get blown to smithereens there. And again, LRG looking very, very good. Bubo-SprayCheck make a big change, right? They changed the backline. We know, we had a feeling, right, they were heading towards playing like a double flex support setup. And the Zen obviously is a great inclusion against like the Ramatra comps, the slower moving compositions. You can really get value out of that Discord Orb. Against the Diva, feels like Ariel's able to break line of sight much more easy. He can be in and out. He doesn't have to take a face full of damage. That mobility means that the windows for which you can exploit that damage increase from the Discord Orb are much shorter.
And like, you have to obviously be in, the harm's way or like line of fire if you're the Zen, right? Just trying to put down damage. Like, that's kind of like what he provides, with the Discord, and then obviously his own damage, where it makes it a fairly, not easy, but a really clean target for them to decide, like, okay, that is the player we're going to target, right? We're going to target the Zen. We're going to try and get, whether it's burst damage from, a Genji dash going on in with a Tracer coming from the other side, or we're going to try and get the Sojourn damage down, and then, land a shot onto the Zen, whether it's like Diva or Tracer, finish him off. Like, it's, you can't keep the Zen up. The whole comp kind of crumbles after that.
Opportunity here for LeftRightGnight to close the map up here. Heading into extra innings, they are the only team with the time bank to spare. And again, we have that Sigma-based composition here, which looked like it started fairly well for BSC, but eventually they got sectioned off from each other and pulled apart. Solo here, much more inclined to maintain this high ground and not be forced away, because that's where the mistakes can start to creep in. The Genji again for lethal. So very much the same game plan for BSC. At the very least, they're able to back away from that high ground with everyone intact, but here's the flank. And D.Va leading the charge here.
They get the regenerative burst out, and then they kind of like back up, and then, you know, BSC has to rotate all the way around, so it's probably off a cooldown at this point. So, but now you kind of like have this like weird scenario where, you know, LRG is kind of like fighting on offense from the defensive side of things, and look at Vistoli, he has to kind of like push into all the damage.
That Suzu timing was really good. Just that small window of invulnerability for Ariel means that Sile had the time to keep him topped up. Lethal here. Needs to decide which way he heads in. Dashes past the Tracer. He doesn't want a bar of it here. Kevster doing everything he can to try and garner his attention, but in the meantime, yeah, it's the core of LRG that get crushed inside the side room.
And dude, like this fight just took so long as well for like nothing to happen. And the fight goes so long. Pulse Bomb, Ant Matrix, you know, the fight kind of lasts a similar portion here. You're gonna get like a, you know, Transcendence as well. Tsune Rush is available for LRG. It would just be feel like a bit of a miss if they didn't win this one.
They've got to dodge away from the Ant Matrix first. That is a scary prospect. Here's the rush though. Crimzo getting pressured heavily, but the Immortality Field's going to prolong his lifespan. Oh my moan, that's dirty. Kevster brought down, and a moment like that could give you the key opening here to win the map. Transcendence is in play, but it doesn't care about burst damage, and Ghost is in pieces now. Finally, Mamone's able to finish the kill here, but Kai's been going to work with those railguns. It's Admiral and Ariel both taken down. Sile barely staying alive, but Kai has great spacing. He can stay back behind Vistola, but he gets brought down, and Lethal brandishes the blade. He says, come and challenge me. We're looking to take the map away. Kevster, though, a key win here, and Mamone has to recall now, and 1 versus 2 eventually brought down as well. And VSC are able to secure the draw.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you never want to say like a draw is huge, but with the way that like BSC looked there, you were probably really happy with the draw.
Oh yeah.
You finish barely with no time remaining. What, 1 minute and 30 on the clock, I think it was there, for LRG to get that, you know, checkpoint. Things actually, you know, kick off with Mamone getting a kill, I believe, onto Kevster at the start. And like, you're like, oh man, this is gonna be brutal. You know, big, I think, you know, shout out to I think it was Kai, right? He like connects with a Sojourn shot there at the end, and knows like he doesn't feel pressured to like just slide in and contest. Knows he has teammates coming. They take like a step to like breathe, and then end up pushing onto the point. And I mean, that is one that LRG, it feels like if you wanted to win this series or really kind of like, you know, be in it, like that is a huge hole and opportunity to be able to win that not able to secure.
You have 90 seconds to play with, right? I think for Blizzard World, as the kind of map we talked about, is quite long and hard to even finish in
First
some
fight
cases.
took way too long.
Yes, that is a great point. And you were playing like a very like heavy commitment based composition on the attack, right? You had Genji Tracer. You were absolutely going in. It got dragged out though, left them with only 30 seconds to spare towards the end. And again, that first Mamone kill could have been a big difference maker, but eventually BSC able to stabilize. I think they
the last fight kicked off like 16 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, you just kind of like wandered. I mean, the issue is like you just kind of keep poking and doing damage against the comp that, you know, SprayCheck has. Like, they just gave them the Ant Matrix pretty much, like going into that next fight, right? You gave them Pulse Bomb as well, so.
100%. Well, there's going to be much more to come from this series with a draw in our second map. It's still 1-0 favoring Bubo-SprayCheck. So stick around, everybody. This is our Group B winners match. Coming at you with more right after the break. Well, a draw in our second map of the series means that these two are still locked at 1-0, favoring Bubo-SprayCheck, and we have Masa getting subbed back in here, again offering that Lucio play that he is so famed for, with Ghost moving back to the bench. Showed us some solid Baptiste play, I thought. Really, I felt this the comp mat overall on Blizzard World wasn't really what the doctor ordered, and he would know.
Yeah, I mean, I think his like Baptiste play was totally fine. It was good. For me personally, I think like Lucio with Kiriko is just like way too good with so many different things, right? And especially you have a great Lucio on the team like Masa. It makes sense, at least in this meta, to have him in.
Yeah, absolutely. And alongside Crimzo again, who showed us some great Kiriko play over the course of the series, we expect great things as usual. Kevstra and Kai have met their match, though. I think in terms of DPS, it's one of the more compelling storylines coming out of this series. I think Maimon and Lethal have looked excellent, very, very good. To the extent of, like Kai switching over towards the Torbjorn at times there, on Blizzard World to try and shut down that flank pressure. It has some success, but generally Kai's not able to do too much more than to stop those flankers from doing their thing. When it comes to actually how you advance your progress, or you reach your win condition in some of these fights, it felt like he wasn't able to contribute nearly as much there. Yeah. So already being put to the test in a big way are Bubo-SprayCheck.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, we kind of mentioned it during the last map, but these two teams way more evenly matched than I believe like our first match of the day was. I think looking roster wise, you probably would expect the first match of the day to be a little bit closer, but New Queen Street will be the push map here. And seeing New Queen Street, I mean, any type of push map, I feel like Lucio is, kind of like how Flashpoint, where Lucio is like required. It feels like push the same type of way.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the kind of, especially when you need to either, get back to the bot quickly or come off your spawns as fast as possible so as not to give up too much progress to the opposing team. Not shocked to see like a potential Soldier 76 here, a popular pick, right, because of that mobility and, to take those flank angles. But we've seen a vast difference in performances, depending on the player with Soldier on this map, because if you're not able to take if you're not willing rather to take some risks, then all you'll do is some incidental poke damage that often gets healed over and forgotten about. Lethal's going to need to be able to commit to some degree here. I like the pick, very popular, of course, especially in 2023 on this map.
Yeah, and Soldier's awesome just for consistent damage, right, at range, like consistently putting down damage, applying the DPS passive, and then also like just personal survivability, right? Can sprint to go to a different location, right? He's very difficult to track down.
We'll have Ramachas for both sides here. Very much that rush down front line. And again, keep an eye on the Moiras here, because little things like Soldier and the effect that it has on your healing resources is really important here, especially if it's mostly Moira doing the healing and Lucio going elsewhere. I like the thinking there from Master, looking for another environmental kill, but the damage has already been done. Somehow Lethal was found in the front line and quickly torn limb from limb. Now you've got your opponents in a pretty compromising position as BSC look to try and extend their lead.
Lots of screaming going on over there. Everybody just making their way off the side. Is the one thing with the Soldier is like the damage is consistent, right? But it lacks that like burst damage, right? So you can push into it, right? It's scary. But it only kind of is like really scary if you're just kind of like sat there fighting no man's land, right? That was actually right as he popped the Coalescence.
Not good at all. This has gone from bad to worse awfully early now. Coalescence coming out later here from Crimzo. He gets it for free because Sile lost his. That is for Stola finding two incredibly important picks in the front line, in that Nemesis form. First, it's Lethal, right? Somehow, even with those sprightly legs that defy the age of Soldier, he gets caught out. And then the Moira. You can fade during Cole if you want to, maybe not available there for Sile, but yeah, that is a mistake that is going to haunt you. 32 meters and counting of progress, and you've lost the Cole. You don't get it back. That's the worst part. Master charges forward. Here's that sound barrier, which Admiral is too late on building, so you've now lost 3 fights consecutively.
Yeah, now you're going to give out the checkpoint, right? I mean, that is really brutal here at the start of New Queen Street to just kind of get ran through like this. Is that now we're going to have Lethal actually move away from 76. It looked like he was getting close to Visor. He may have had it, but feels like how I mentioned before, you can just kind of push into the 76. There was like no respect being kind of shown for the 76, where they were just speed boosting right into it and taking down the first target in front of them.
Annihilations here for both Ramatras. Ariel might be inclined to reach for that particular resource now while the pressure is still mounting. Forced back though, here it comes. Annihilation, that extra durability that comes alongside of it. Also supplemented by a sound barrier. Eventually Admiral's able to build it. This is a must-win fight. There's no excuse not to take this away if you're LRG. BSC realized that too, and maybe more than happy to give it up here after Vistola stalls for a moment or two.
Yeah, just the finish of the Annihilation there, able to get two. It looked like Vistola got one, Masa and Kevster pick up some other kills, but now we're gonna have the bot going the other direction. It's just giving up that checkpoint so early. It just puts you in such. I mean, Push is so unforgiving in terms of like, hey, we had two bad fights at the start. Like, we can come back. Like, to come back, that means like you need to win like 4 fights in a way, right? Which makes it really brutal.
Decent start here though, Crimzo.
Yes.
Pulse bomb during Cole, if I'm not mistaken, so must have already used that fade. Lethal getting brought down though, but again, that's your 2 consecutive fights you were looking for LRG. Kaido, still a bit of an issue though, finding that second kill onto Sile. But Kevster still at large means that LRG are not in a position to actually push their advantage. They're not even pushing the bot right now. Nicely done by Mamone. Eventually Kevster is brought down, but he's bought a decent amount of time for these respawns to come through.
Yeah, and the way LRG does this is you need to win fights with, no to limited investment, right? Win a fight with a pulse bomb, right? Win it with an overclock, right? Like, you need to win probably like 2 of those fights, like using just about nothing or close to nothing, and then have some ultimates to like basically you got to fight to tie the game. Like, that's kind of how you work your way back and push, which becomes very difficult because BSC can kind of use their ultimates at will.
So much pressure on Ariel right now. He's going to have to, he was hoping to maybe build up an Annihilation there to have that durability. But Lethal's in a great position and it's mostly uncontested. Drops down, finds his third.
Lethal's been sick.
Getting its job done, make it 4. And all of a sudden, just when things looked like they were getting pretty ugly for LRG, Lethal comes up with 4.
I mean, dude, they're going to do what I was basically talking about. In the sense that, like, Mamone got the pulse bomb the last fight right onto Crimzo. They end up kind of getting some bot movement there. And then this time it's the overclock. They get the overclock and Lethal just goes crazy. Now you can be, a little bit more loose with what you decide to do because you're going to tie the game.
There's a chance, though, for BSC to stop this cap of the checkpoint. Great pulse there, but Ariel was obviously blocking up. Still very low. Annihilation comes out once more. Vistola still wants to commit, and Kai gets Sile. That is backbreaking, especially after you commit that Ramatra ultimate. You're banking on your Moira to be there to keep you standing.
It's not even that. It's like, so you kind of need that fight to go your way because now you're starting at square one. If you were able to keep Ariel alive for another like 2 seconds, you had Admiral with the sound barrier coming in. You most certainly, if he was would have used the sound barrier, you have the Annihilation rolling, you would have been able to probably get that checkpoint. And now you got to start all the way back at square one.
Here's the call to start the fight. Already a lot of pressure on Admiral, who goes for the sound barrier. Timing's good. Somehow Kai, even though he has a friendly coalescence in play, forced to a biotic orb. Vistola, though, unperturbed. He wants to pressure this. Trying to go in the direction of Admiral here. Lethal is low. Kevster was able to finish the job now. Vistola reaches further into the back line. Sees Ariel, though, completely besieged and caught out of position. That'll be enough for BSC to be going on with.
And just look at how Vistola positions himself there. Just like forces the support so far away that there was nothing that they could do to help Ariel stay alive. And then also like they're just in a terrible spot. But it's really, Vistola pushing up, getting in their face, forcing them all the way back into that alleyway. That just puts them in a bad position to really help anybody else on the team.
You're hoping for a big lethal overclock, I think, in the coming moments. Mamone was able to build Pulse Bomb there with that little 4-8. Lethal might want to go for that one soon if he has decent position to work with, and he does pop it. Mamone's Pulse, no result for him. So now relying on the Sojourn to deliver. Ariel's low and lower by the second. Lethal in a good little... off angle here. Vistola, though, soaking up so much of that ultimate here and still able to stay alive until the call comes through from Crimzo. So many targets to heal, maybe too many, but Kai's able to use that brief window, the opening to find Admiral. It's a headshot with that railgun. And now a sound barrier for Master. These support ultimates are coming up at the best possible time because LRG aren't able to finish the job. Even though they get early fight advantages, they quickly slip away.
And you notice, like, after Crimzo uses the coalescence comes through from LRG. They just back up BSC into like the corners, just wait a little bit, right? Forces LRG forward, and then what happens? Masa with a sound barrier, they come right around the corner, finish off that fight as BSC getting very close to completing the map.
Sile also used Cole at some point there earlier on, so that's on the way back still. Admiral's beat. Lethal, yeah, no value found because of the sound barrier, I'd suggest, in that previous fight. And this is starting to get away from LRG. Good stick on Kyler. That's a big one. Sound barrier now for LRG. Once again, a must-win situation here where there's no excuse. And they'll get what they came for. They'll stabilize, or at least have a chance to get this bot back to parity, but they still lack that very first checkpoint on the map.
Yeah, and I mean, now you're going all the way the opposite direction. 2 minutes on the clock, and then where the bot is, you're also now fighting into high ground, right? Because you didn't actually get that checkpoint. So just making it even harder, and BSC looks like they want to take a fight mid-map.
The tube is where Lethal was able to make that 4K play earlier on. Kevster now is patrolling it avidly.
I also like this, like, you win a fight mid-map here if you're BSC. Like, what chance do you have? As I mean, they've done such a great job of just putting so much. Every time I see Ariel's health bar up at the top, it's like basically spawning in at 50% HP. I mean, just like in terms of like prioritizing a target, they are just kind of like mowing through the Ramatra health.
You can see the position of Ariel relative to the rest of LRG there. He was completely on an island. They must have called a cancel on that fight while he was still stood around or pressured down. You can't move quickly when you're blocking, right? So he either runs or dies, or both, which may have been the case there. Here's that annihilation. Lethal needs a safer position to play from. Ariel going to pop his own here just to prevent BSC from taking all this space for free, and they don't have enough time, BSC, to build those support ultimates up. Lethal chimes in now after getting a safe position to play from with that overclock.
I don't think you would have used them anyway if you're, BSC, if you end up building up these support ults, because, I mean, they have to basically push it another 50 meters or so. They don't even have the checkpoint yet, right? So you give yourself like 2-3 fights potentially here for BSC to close this one out.
I think if you're BSC, you're all just happy enough holding off at this first checkpoint. I mean, again, the only reason I suspect maybe further investment was because we did see Vistola reach for his own annihilation in that fight. But you're more than happy to draw those out of BSC. Sound barrier here for Master. Stick is good. Kai again. Another great opener. Mimone able to find that real nasty weapon in the longer fights. Checkpoint though gained, even with BSC having 4 players up. A bit of a slip here. Not insurmountable though if they can win this fight in the later stages, but Kevster's pulse bomb goes wildly astray. But Admiral being down is massive, and Crimso's close to a call. This one, it should be about over.
Yes, Vistola does a nice job, just constantly moving with Masa. Like, they do a great job of just finding a target, getting the Ramatra right in the face. That time it was a Lethal trying to take an off angle. They get Vistola right in his face, takes him out, and that ends up securing the map. As BSC looking pretty good there on push. I mean, you get that big of an early start, it's like almost impossible for anybody to come back on push.
I feel like once again though, the DPS from BSC, weren't exactly dominating that entire map. Like Mimone had some fantastic pulse bombs, and Lethal with a huge 4K. A lot of this seemed to center on the pressure that Ariel was receiving and how they were dealing with the challenge of keeping their Ramatra alive, at least into the fight starting.
It's probably like one of the bigger, I don't know if like surprise is the best word, but like one of the things that you looked at like in this series where you're like Kai and Kevster, obviously going up against Mimone and then Lethal, you're like, oh man, like, this could be like a huge like DPS gap. We're like, I don't see that in this series thus far. I mean, I think Lethal and Mimone have played phenomenal. I think it's just like, Masa, Vistola being able to get that Ramatra into position, right? Whether it's like split off supports, then take out Ariel, or, get it right in Lethal's face, make it difficult, and then kind of winning the fight on the back half. Like, that's really kind of been the difference.
Yeah, so after suffering a small setback in the form of a draw, Bubo-SprayCheck feeling pretty good now about being 2-0 up in this first to 3 series here. So unlikely we need to go to too many tiebreakers, I think, in this one. Stick around, though, as BSC look to try and close things out. LeftRightGnight trying to throw a Hail Mary haymaker to stay in the series. everybody, welcome back here. Excuse me, as BSC are 2-0 in its matchup against LeftRightGnight. If you are just joining us here, we did have a draw actually on Blizzard World, a very closely contested map. A New Queen Street went the way of Bubo-SprayCheck, and they're looking to close it out here as we head to New Junk City, Matthew.
Yes, this will be our first flashpoint we'll see of the day thus far, right? With the 3-0 earlier, and then now with a draw getting us here where I expect no subs. I also think this probably isn't ideal for LRG in the sense that, like, playing with the Lucio in that fast pace seems to definitely suit BSC better.
Yeah, I think so, and it's got a lot to do with how they play around their tank. I think that Ariel struggled at times here just to deal with some of the incidental poke damage coming his way, and quite often, by the time that LeftRightGnight were in a position to start a fight, the Ramattra was already blocking, slowed down as a result of that, and at half HP. Not really where you want to be, and it makes you that much more exploitable. I'm going to say, though, some of the timing, though, the ultimates coming up for Crimzo and Master was pretty big here, but off we go. New Junk City is kicking off here, and again, we have these Ramattra composition mirrors with the Moiras in tow.
We're right into it as we are just battling here right at the start. Ariel already taking so much damage. You just kind of see, like, the health bars, like, Vistola just, it feels like Vistola's always like teetering around 75 to like 100, where like Ariel looks like at 50, but right here it is Kai getting control of the high ground after the kill on Lethal, but it may not be enough because you've already lost your tank and you've lost Crimzo.
It's my own again, Matt. That big kill on towards Crimzo made it impossible for BSC to keep Vistola alive in their frontline fight. It's so high maintenance for your rest of your team to keep their Ramattra standing there. So this time Ariel and Co able to prevail and break through that front line. Already, of course, with how fast things tick up here on Flashpoint, we're approaching 30%. Again, our support ultimates are pretty much in step, though. Master with a slight lead, but shouldn't be a big deal.
With a Lucio in the mix, you get, like, I would say, like, 3 fights a point, maybe. But with how, like, these kind of Ramatras just duel in the middle, like, you may actually only be at 2, and that is huge. I mean, you lose Masa, that is basically, I know, GG on this push, probably even GG on the point with where things sit at now.
Right, put you, yeah. Fortunately, Admiral probably isn't going to use Sound Barrier here until the fight requires it, so Masa won't suffer, any sort of like staggering out in terms of ultimates here. But BSC very quickly have come back into this. A Cole coming out from Crimzo here. Sile reciprocates. Master's been able to build his beat, so no harm, no foul there. As Kevster's forced into a recall, Mimone comes knocking. They're playing on the periphery here, but the Tracers very much are locked in a duel. And here come the beats. Both teams throw them down. It's BSC with the latest Sound Barrier, though, and LeftRightGnight less durable for the next couple of seconds by comparison. BSC, though, fortunately for their opponents, are forced to drop back to the point because we're at 99 and counting. Now the high ground control, to some degree, ceded over to LeftRightGnight. Ariel's looking for a target right now. Sile's gone down, though. Your Moira not being there means you're not far behind if you're a Ramattra.
Ariel ends up popping the Annihilation there, which I was surprised because I think he had already lost like 1 or 2 players. Maybe it was just 1, but was quite low, using just kind of like the power block to stay up, and then pops the Annihilation and gets taken out. So you don't have that. That Ramattra ult would have been huge here.
BSC just trying to break out here, making it impossible for LeftRightGnight to contest.
They do a sick job at, like, BSC uses the, they come around that corner, right? They put a ton of support, pressure on the supports on the left, and then just look at Ariel and just burn him down. Like, the supports, like the Moira and the Lucio at range, obviously can't really do anything to help that Ramattra.
And Lethal stuck around the corner on the left, like you said. Not a good angle to use his overclock at all. So Kai just gets to, basically uncontested for the most part, punish Ariel for being on that causeway at all, as LRG will split up. Oh, this push is great. What a speed boost from Master with the coalescence from Crimzo. LRG have no idea what just hit them. I mean, Sile, coming out with a bit of a belated coalescence here, but it's too late. Mimone already gets taken down now. Sile couldn't keep him topped up enough so that he could withstand these railguns from Kai. And BSC in a come-from-behind victory on this first Flashpoint. What a way to start New Junk City.
Yeah, it seems like whenever BSC is the one setting the pace and, like, the tempo of these fights, they're able to just kind of, like, get things rolling and win with, relative ease. Where when, LRG, like, when they're the ones that are, like, dictating the pace and the initiation and how things are going to happen, that's when these fights can end up going longer and more of a toss-up. Like, I think it's just Vistola does a great job of going in there, sectioning off some players, and then the target swapping on who to go towards next.
Love the calling from Master again. The speed boost to start that fight. That is pretty sick.
Aerial really low already. That's gonna force sound barrier.
Master's happy to use one of his own though. I guess they just really want to commit. They don't want to back away. They don't want to give up the point for any reason. So they say, okay, well, we're going to win this fight probably anyway, but we're going to throw a sound barrier in to ensure it. We'll have another one built up by the time it matters anyway.
Yeah, as you get the tank low, that forces sound barrier on the other side. It came out like basically at the same time, maybe a little bit later, but you just have that extra sound barrier towards the end. I believe Pulse Bomb lands from Kevster, and that is another fight won for BSC.
My moan here gets a decent idea of the setup for BSC. We'll just contest this. Likely we'll draw Kevster and Master out of formation. That's exploitable. Dukes are thrown up here for Stella, though is able to find Sile. Kai in a very safe position, completely unaffected by this annihilation.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see annihilation now for both sides, right? As Visola knows he has a support advantage, can just block and move forward and move into that.
Yeah, that's nasty. Stola very pleased with how that one transpired, especially with Crimzo, the only player with a support ultimate online here. Kai having an overclock. How on earth do you fight back into this?
Oh, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be the coalescence here at the start here for Crimzo & Co. And they push in, but Mamone wins another Tracer battle here against Kevster.
Far from over though. Yes, you lose that first pick, but Kai's in a position here to do damage. Look at the strafing from Sile. It's not going to be enough though. Lethal. It's one overclock charge shot, but it's able to fire one back of his own. That's now LeftRightGnight though. It's too late. They get forced off the point and now they have to fight for a third and final.
Yeah, the fight happens so far away that nobody able to make it towards the point. So you do end up losing that second point, 1 point away for BSC to be able to take this. It's LeftRightGnight. They do have the ultimates to win this first fight though.
My moan on the wrap again. Once again, we'll draw Masa and Kevster out of position for a time. They have to know he's seen me on a pulse bomb, and the stick is good. Kai's going to be brought down. Power slide or no, he's done. Great stick though from Kevster. And now both Tracers have done their dirty work getting rid of the Sojourns here. Only 2 DPS players left on the field right now, and Sile in a coalescence. Pretty safe spot for it, but he can't see Admiral behind just the features of the map, and that's enough of a window for Crimzo to complete that elimination. Sile though maintaining some of that healing resource if he can, but it's forced to fade away, and he's given up Aerial for dead.
Man, I feel like that was the fight you needed to win, right? You came into that fight with just about everything there for LRG, and to lose that, that is brutal, because what? Annihilation, Pulse Bomb, Crimzo with how aggressive they've been going with Coalescence, right? You got to be able to keep your Ramatra alive here if you're LRG.
Annihilation should be online for both Ramatras here again, though it's Crimzo slightly out of phase with everybody else's ultimates, means he gets that call first, and it's enough. Lethal absolutely crunched here. Crimzo desperately trying to keep Kai in his crosshairs. He's done enough. Kai's able to escape there, especially the Annihilation used by Aerial. It's good ultimates being thrown after bad here for LRG, and they are losing control of this game. Pistola pushing in now, Sile blown to smithereens, and what a time to have Annihilation, Matt. That was devastating, and there's no way you're coming back from that.
Dude, the running in with the slow, then the Annihilation right after, I mean, that is brutal, as you're able to win that first fight just off the back of the Coalescence. The second, really kind of half of that fight, you win it off the Annihilation, and BSC, although with a draw there, did not look fantastic on Blizzard World. Clean up the rest of the series.
It's about as convincing as it gets there, Matt. We were definitely unsure as to whether LeftRightGnight could actually find opportunities to win maps throughout the course of this series. They look good on Blizzard World. It makes sense, that we end up there to some degree. But again, I think we really see the gulf between these two teams. It's exposed in those last couple of maps, and New Junk City more than any other.
But still, I mean, if you're looking at the very beginning of this series, it did seem a lot closer than initially expected. I think they played really close rounds on Nepal. I think the Sojourn battle was really excited. It was a nice back and forth we got to see there. And then, of course, Blizzard World. Like, honestly, they played it so competitive. I love the defensive setup we saw from LeftRightGnight on that second point, really covering that high ground. So I think they were really able to push BSC more than some might have expected initially. So all around, though, very, very impressive showing from both teams.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to like in the maps that we saw kind of like a mirror in terms of like, okay, we're going to play fast, right? That's where BSC was able to take advantage and really kind of have a gap. But on Blizzard World, right, where, you know, BSC wanted to play a little bit slower with like the Zen and the Baptiste, and the entire map is like kind of dictated on the pace that, you know, LRG wanted to do, like that's when they're able to contend. And you kind of saw that throughout the series. It's just once the speed and kind of coordination kind of comes through here, and really it's just, you know, BSC able to set that pace, set that tempo, that's when there was really no answer.
I'm quite happy with what we saw, I think, though, from LRG. Like, obviously their DPS is their strength. It's very challenging, I think, to play at this level, you know, against the team, like BSC rather. Your coordination's really going to be tested, especially when so much hinges on your front line being able to stay alive as long as possible.
I was just about to point that out, because heading into this match, obviously we talked so much about Kai and Kevster, but then it was really a lot of lethal Mamoni which showed up and got those crucial picks.
Yeah, they played awesome throughout the series, and also like even saying like, hey, like when they sped up the game, you know, LRG wasn't able to kind of like play at that speed, right? Like it's basically like, you know, you have like an entire team of like OWL players, right, who are drilled to play at this speed and this pace, right, against, you know, players coming from all different walks of Overwatch, right, and, you know, contenders and whatnot. Like it's obvious, like it's just a different game playing at that speed and that pace, where when you saw it slow down, right, Mamone and Lethal were like fantastic. Like they were going head to head, winning a lot of the times against Kai and Kevster. It's just as an overall team, it's difficult to play at that pace.
Yeah, I love that you point that out, because you saw when it was easier for LRG is when they were playing against a slower composition from Bubo-SprayCheck, right? That like the Zen, the Baptiste setup, they found their feet and found a lot of success there. But when the pace got amped up a notch, that's when they sort of crumbled later in the fights.
Yeah, but LeftRightGnight not out yet. We're still in the group stages. They could still qualify for the main event, whereas Bubo-SprayCheck has done just that. So they're going to feel pretty good about themselves. And now we're ready for a quick break. Afterwards, we're going to see the last match for the region with ROC Esports versus Sheer Cold. You don't want to miss this.